I'm coming back to see if I can get a little close, make some serious progress on this batch of men-at-arms. I intended to work on them yesterday, but that's all right, because it's time today. Let's do fur brown. This is a ruddier brown color. Okay, it's woo throwing stuff. It's dried a little too much. Let me get some water on it and see if I can get it activated again. And this is just another clothing color. I'm going to be using it for sleeves and the underhood, kind of like the inside part of a headdress you might see on a nun. Man, my knowledge of medieval fashion leaves a lot to be desired, but you know, it's this part. It frames the visage. Visage. That's got to be French. That word's got to have a French origin to it. Omelette du fromage. Under. Oh boy. I don't need the chin strap part of it. I really don't. All right. Got it on the bottom lip. Gonna try to take it off with this other brush real quick. Got it. It's a trick I've kind of figured out. When I get like a very obvious blob of a color in the wrong place, if I act quickly enough with a dry brush, I can usually just absorb it right off of there. Oh, let's move over. I just started his right sleeve here. I mean, this area is mostly wrapped. I might actually paint his trousers in this same fur brown color. In fact, I think I shall. Let's get what we can see. Oh. Let's make sure to block out every bit of the light. Okay, I'm going to rotate my phone holder a little bit so that I have more room for my hands. Nice. This is where it is. This is what's up. All right, I got enough of it on there. Let's put some of the same pinkish fur brown color on this man's pantaloons. Oop, there we go. Go, go, go. Let's get the front of that same leg. And then let's get that leg, but not that leg, but the other leg. There are two. I managed to assemble this person without causing too much damage, so he's not going to have a peg leg. I might give a peg leg to one of my orcs. I don't know. I don't know. It's worth thinking about. All right. This person has got the same pantaloon situation going on and the same headwear situation going on. So let's start down here because I just loaded the brush, so I want to get some of the bulk off the brush before I try doing a smaller area. That smaller area being his inner headwear. See, if I just said headwear, I would probably be referring to the helmet. Going, putting it on. I think some people are moving in next door. It's pretty loud over there for me. Let's see if we can get a little more coverage. That's a little bit better. All right, from this angle, I should be able to get the below chin part of that inner headwear piece. Yeah, that's good enough. Yeah, I like these different ruddy browns in with everything else. Soon, possibly right after I finish with this color, I'm going to... I need to choose a different color for the sleeves on this guy. For the upper outer sleeves. I don't know what I'll use. That is a mystery. It's one I will promptly solve. Maybe I'll just use... How about the khaki that I used on that frontline guy? Because this guy will be on a different rank. Ugh. Couldn't hear it, but that was a hiccup. Hiccup from me. Let's go under here. I'm going to be getting some of this on the collar, but that's all right. There we go. Let's get... Okay, we got that sleeve. This is a pants color, I decided. Hyper recently. Under there. There it is. Let's get this one too. I feel like however many shades of brown one has, it's just not enough shades of brown. I may have even more of a problem with this when I move on to the Bowman. I don't plan on going on to the Bowman next, but they've got a lot of brown leather and brown, of course, quivers, bows, each part of the arrow. I mean, you can use a bright color for the fletching, I suppose, but I think I might like to do a darker wood color, something a little more oakish for the bows themselves. And then maybe a lighter color, something more beachly for the arrow shafts. But what am I doing thinking about that right now? It's probably still a ways away. I know that after these 6 men-at-arms, I've got the command group left, and then that's 1 men-at-arms unit painted. Aw, yeah. After that, I'm actually currently midway through painting a 2nd unit of Knights of the Realm. I have already shared in unlisted videos some painting of, I think, 1 or 2 of those very same Knights of the Realm. That unit I consider painted now. Do I want to put a little bit of this color there? No, I do not. Yes, I do. But I have started a 2nd unit of Knights of the Realm. I want to paint them. And then I'll have 2 Knights of the Realm, 1 Men-at-Arms. After that, oh no. Oh, I got that all over the, oh no. Let's see if I can maybe. All right, yeah, that's just gonna have to be something I'm gonna have to fix. You know what? I need to learn to accept my mistakes, calm down, and just come back and get them later. I have not, and absolutely will not learn that. Don't you dare, don't you dare accuse me of doing so, of learning from my mistakes. But I need to. I won't, and you can't make me. But I do need to. But I won't. Let's more water just to activate the paint. But then I'm worried I'm going to thin it down too much. Let's go around to this side. Yeah, so after these men-at-arms and those knights, I may have to take a break from Bretonnians for a little bit because I've got some orcs to paint. But I've got some to assemble, some to convert to make characters, and then those models and a few other orc models to paint. But upon my return to Bretonnia, I think I'm going to want to, let's see. I am greatly enjoying painting these men-at-arms, so I might do the other men-at-arms unit. I might just paint them. I do have 2 after all. And then I can maybe take on the bowmen. I do have more knights to assemble. I think I'm going to assemble some knights errant. The knights errant are the same kit as the Knights of the Realm, but they are a less elite knight. They're a little cheaper in terms of points for gameplay purposes. Okay. Oh, why am I so determined to... Oh, I'm going to have to paint over that no matter what anyway. I'll leave that. So I'll have to assemble some Knights Errant, and I still have some Pegasus Knights to assemble. I have actually painted 1 of my 6 total Pegasus Knights. So there's still a few of those to do. And then there's also, of course, my characters. I have a mounted prophetess / damsel, and I have a variant that's on foot. I have them primed, and their bases are actually done, but the models themselves still need to be painted. And then I've got a Duke on a Royal Pegasus and a Baron on a Royal Pegasus. I intend to paint both of them, but I only intend to use one of them at a time, so it's kind of a question of which one I want to open with. when it comes to playing, because that's my goal, is just to get enough Bretonnian models ready to play a game of Warhammer the Old World. I've been working on these models too long. They need to see some action. They need to fight. It's got to happen. Got to get them on the tabletop. And I know lots of players assemble models and play with those models without painting them. And that's really a good idea, I think. Because if you're having trouble finding the motivation to finish a project as big as painting an entire army, well, why wait till it's painted to reward yourself with a game, you know? Just play the game first. Oh boy. I'm actually having a little bit of difficulty with this. All right, I only want to use that same color on one other model, and it's this one. Actually, yeah. Okay, what brown colors have I used on this model that I'm holding? One thing I've done off camera is I applied a deep skin tone wash to the skin of these models. It's a little difficult to tell in my limited lighting, but it's there. It's there. The amount of skin shown is so little that I don't even know if it really matters. I think I'm going to do something else with this guy. I don't think I want to use the fur brown color on him. Let me check one thing here. Okay, good. I'm still going to paint all the wood, including the backs of the shields and the shafts of the pole arms. But before I go on to those, I'm going to swap to a larger brush and go ahead and hit the fronts of the shields. In spite of all the uncertainty I have shared about the leather and various browns and pinkish browns on these models, I may very well be just as uncertain about this. The crystal blue color I'm using on the fronts of the shields. I did want to make the shields look more leather on the front, more unfinished, more rudimentary. But then I felt that I just didn't have enough visible color to tie these models in with the rest of my army, so I decided, okay, let's just have a solid crystal blue coat or two on the fronts of each of these shields. And then I will add a freehand pattern on top of that, like on this finished men-at-arms model right here. That clearly fits them in with my army's theme, but I don't know if I like it, because the shield, when I look at these guys, the shield and the bit of the pole arm is all I see until I look more closely than that. And that is somewhat intended, I think. These are men-at-arms. On the tabletop, when you look at something like this, you're supposed to see guy with big blocking board and stabby stick. So the main three elements I need to see when I look at this model are guy, blocky board, stabby stick. Everything else is embellishment. On a model that, let's face it, is probably going to die as soon as it sees any action. I mean, not all of them, but the ones in the back, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, I think I got some acetone on the bottom of this model's shield, and the primer doesn't seem to have successfully covered that up. And that makes me nervous, right? Is it still gonna show through the actual acrylic paint? Oh, wow, I can see it way more. Look at that. Just look at that on the bottom of that shield there. That looks bad. That looks garbanzo. But the good news is that I'm just gonna paint it anyway, so it's like, maybe it'll look good when all is said and done. Remains to be seen. But I don't know how I did that. I think that's just leftover plastic cement that just kind of gave some bubbling and a bit of a sheen effect to the actual polystyrene of the model itself. And there's not really anything I can do to fix that short of sanding it down or something like that. And I don't want to sand down anything because that's like because it's work. I'm not here to do work, but I don't want to sand down a smooth flat surface of what's supposed to be a shield of a man-at-arms bravely defending hearth and home. It's just not going to look so great. Although I guess a flat surface is the thing you would want to sand down, huh? It wouldn't really be obvious. I don't know. I'm speculating a little bit here. At the end of the day, I don't think it really matters. But yeah, you can see it at the bottom of this model shield too, pretty plainly. Even when the image is out of focus on this mobile phone camera, you can still tell. I'm gonna finish this coat of crystal blue. That is the name of Army Painter's color that I'm using here, crystal blue. It's one of my favorite colors that I've ever found. I'm kind of in love with it. Let's do that. And lately I've been having to put a second very thin coat on top of that. I expect to have to do the same here. But before things reach that point, I would like to go ahead and paint the wood. So shut up, I'm doing it. Where do I have that on my palette? Ah, I see it. It's next to that fur brown color I've been using. Note to self, maybe don't put all of the browns side by side where they look even more similar to each other. Maybe stagger them with some vivid colors. I don't know. I don't really know. It's like, this is the Tree Ancient color. This is a fairly ruddy brown that's meant to resemble wood. I mean, I guess it might be a little bit too cherry-esque. I don't know. Is cherry wood, does it have a red color to it? I may be confusing cherry with some other kind of wood. I've never really known the woods all that well. Like, I can recognize pine if it's like your typical run-of-the-mill, I guess that's how that expression works, run-of-the-mill, white pine, soft pine, whatever. The kind that, your kid broke to get his yellow belt, that kind of wood, I can recognize that. I think I missed a mold line on this handle. Well, that's going to look garbage under a magnifying glass only. Oh, you left a mold line. Oh, he left a mold line. Shun, how could he do this? Anyway, yeah, I don't know the woods. I think I'm quite happy with this wood color. I quite am. I'm telling you, you start painting minis, get lots of different options for brown. Even if you're using contrast paints, just get 2 or 3 different browns. These mundane earthy colors, It's like they're not meant to draw the eye's attention. They're meant to just fit in the background, you know? That's how I see it. So get a couple of different ones. Consider them a very important part of the job because you want them not to stand out. Yeah. See, this is when it starts looking really good. Like, to me, he looks almost done. I think I mentioned this before in a recorded video of me doing some painting, but I've seen plenty of models where the rim of the base, this part down here, is painted in a solid matte black as a way to mark the model finished, and I just don't understand that. It looks unfinished to me. The base of the model feels every bit as important, albeit a lot less labor intensive, than the actual body proper of the model. In other words, I think it's super important to put a little bit of time and effort and resources into giving your model a nice, compelling base. It makes a pretty big difference. And when the base looks unfinished, the model looks unfinished to me. So my orcs that I use for 40K, they have a sandy desert base. Super simple. Paint them a sandy color, like a typical desert, like Sahara sand color, and glue some sand onto them, and include the rims in that color. It looks so much more finished, in my opinion. The most regrettable thing about how I've painted my orcs, though, is that I actually glued the sand to the base after painting the base, with the reasoning being that way I get the actual pretty sand texture on top, which looks nice. And I paid money for that sand because I am, and this is true, a sucker and a chump. And then I thought any gaps that are left by trying to glue the sand particles on will be covered by the very naturally complementary looking Xandri dust color, which is what I predominantly went with. Though I've got some that are using one of these army painter khaki looking things, I think. But I since regretted that because once I run out of that sand, which again, I suckerly, chumpily bought, I won't be able to make the others match anymore. And this is, to put it in technical terms, an oopsie. Perhaps even an oopsie daisy. All right. I think, given how far the time has advanced, if I come back to record anymore from this batch paint, which has just taken more time than I expected it to take, I think all I'm going to record is maybe some finishing touches, maybe a little bit of work on the bases of these models, or maybe not. I intend to do a significant amount of work off camera for these, simply because these take longer than I expected them to take. So, lesson learned. And as fun as it is to record myself doing this, I only want to do it if I'm prepared to talk a little bit and not have a lot of dead air. So, I'm going to zone out later today, I think, and really just make some progress on these guys. But there's not that many more steps to do. There's the other half of the batch that I've got to do this wood color on. And then there's the metallics that we've got to do. And just a few more touches, and of course the bases I spoke so much about. So thank you for joining me, and I'll see you then.